Hello and welcome to Workplace Makers with Nina Fountain. This is the podcast that gets to know the people creating workplaces we aspire to. It's about achieving the ultimate win, a workplace people are drawn to wherever they work from, and discovering how we can remove limitations to enable people to be their best through workplace innovation and design. I'm your host, modern workplace consultant Nina Fountain. Join me as I unlock the secrets of attractive, productive, and engaging modern workplaces. Welcome to the Workplace Makers podcast. Today we are joined by Michelle Kershaw and we'll be talking about designing for neurodiversity. Michelle specialises in helping people, teams and organisations unlock their potential. She has over 30 years experience in the UK, Australia and New Zealand and has held leadership roles across a number of different industries including tech, financial services, education and telecommunications. Michelle also identifies as neurodiverse and is currently co-creating a neurodiversity playbook for use in the workplace. She holds a slew of qualifications and memberships around coaching, a Master of Business Coaching from the University of Wollongong. She's accredited as a GTCI Certified Practitioner in Team Coaching, holds the European Coaching and Mentoring Council Individual Team Coaching Accredited Practitioner qualification, and is a member of the International Coaching Federation. And she currently consults in the culture and organisational development space, facilitating leadership programs and coaching individuals and teams. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Nina. That was a very long intro. That sounds quite impressive. Thank you.
It's nice when you put all those things together and see what you are bringing to the table, which is a fantastic career. So I'm looking forward to tapping into your knowledge around this. And where are you joining for us from today and what's it like where you are?
It's a beautiful day. I'm joining from Waiheke Island, where
Gorgeous.
I live. I moved here about 6 years ago. And yes, the sun is shining. We've got a bit of a southerly blowing, but it is a stunning day.
Gorgeous. So just outside of Auckland.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Now, you're helping people understand neurodiversity in the workplace. So could you help us understand what is neurodiversity?
Well, it's me. Probably about 1 in 7 people in the workforce and in the world. So 1 in 7 people that you're going to meet is probably neurodiverse.
Right.
But it actually refers to the differences in how people think, learn and process information. So many people will have heard of, autism, which is now autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia, ADHD, terms like that. That's neurodiversity.
Yeah, great. Thank you for clarifying. And so it's quite a broad spectrum, isn't it? A wide range of different experiences for people.
Yeah, and it's a different experience for me every day, to be honest with you. I try to explain it like a tree. So if you think of a tree like a trunk of a tree, we've all got something in common, but then as the tree branches out, it's got different branches. And so what I've found in my lived experience is that I've probably got a combination of dyslexia and ADHD. Right. And the more I explore about myself, the more I go, oh yeah, that's me. So it's a fascinating area that I'm learning about myself.
And how did you get interested? Is that how you got interested in neurodiversity, that you discovered your own experience was actually defined by some of these terms?
Yes.
Yeah?
I only found out a couple of years ago. So you can imagine all my life I've struggled retaining information. So I was terrible at school. I failed all my exams at school because when I was growing up, it was literally you learned something and then you regurgitated that in closed book exams and you passed or failed.
Yeah.
And so I failed most things. However, I persevered and I did quite well and got qualifications. But I actually found out a couple of years ago when I went for a role and had a great interview and they said, oh, you'd be perfect for the role and when can you start? And I said, oh, I can start as soon as you want me. And they said, right, well, we do have a hurdle that you have to get through to actually be part of our organisation. And I went, oh, what's that? And they said, oh, we have to do some psychometric testing.
Right.
And basically. I've done psychometric testing in the past for senior roles, and I've been terrible at it, but I've managed to get the roles. And I was terrible at it again, and unfortunately this organisation decided that I wasn't for them because I'd failed the test. So then I went, why do I keep failing? Why am I so dreadful at psychometric testing?
And you started looking into that further. Interesting.
So anybody who's been terrible at psychometric testing, have a quick Google and you'll be surprised at what comes up. And dyslexia came up for me. I was like, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and what does the experience of dyslexia for you, what does that mean in terms of your day-to-day, how you process information, or what was going on in that test, I guess?
Yeah, so timed tests, so pressure tests. So in the testing, it's a time test under pressure where you've got to actually read a passage and then respond and give an answer, typing in. Now, my dyslexia, I didn't think I was dyslexic. I can read and write. I have no problem reading at all. In fact, I read from an early age. I make a few typos occasionally, but I love spell checks, so that's fine in my work life. The pressure of the test, and then I actually had no idea what some of the words meant.
You're right.
And so for me, it was life-changing when I found out that dyslexia isn't just about being able to read and write. It's actually lots of other things as well. And for me, it's I have word blindness. I think that's the only way you can describe it. So if there's no picture for a word, I can't tell you what that word means. Yeah,
interesting. So those words that are more vague or complex, or like the in-between words that...
the in-between words.
Yeah. They're not nouns and they're not actions, and they're
like dichotomy.
Oh.
So somebody was talking to me, we were talking about neurodiversity actually, and we said it's a dichotomy, and then she said it's like two sides of a coin.
And then with the picture,
I got it with the picture, two sides of a coin. I went, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So it's been fascinating for me.
Isn't that is so interesting, and gives us a clue already around how communication can be improved with a group of people who have dyslexia. Adding those pictures, or thinking how can this be put into pictures so that it can be more easily understood. Is that
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you kind of busted a myth there around dyslexia, that people with dyslexia can't read. Are there any other myths that you've come across about dyslexia or neurodiversity in general? Do people have stereotypes that aren't quite right?
Well, but some dyslexia, this is why it's really confusing, because some dyslexics really, really can't read and can't write. So I really want to make the point that if you've met one neurodiverse person, you've actually met one neurodiverse person. Great point. So whilst I can read and write, my great nephew, who is on the autism spectrum, has no ability to read and write. And I know some very famous dyslexic, like Richard Branson, for instance, terrible at reading and writing. And it's a hidden disability that we call it a disability because, it's harder for some people in some areas and easier in others. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's in the word, isn't it? Neurodiversity is that there's this incredible diversity amongst a group of people who might identify that way.
It is, and there are things like dyspraxia and dyscalculia, and so with me, I can't do my times table. I have never been able to do it, and dyscalculia has a problem where you can't process numbers as well. So I have dyslexia, dyscalculia, and a little ADHD. When I say a little bit, I have traits that are challenging with ADHD as well. So, and again, everybody is kind of different.
Yeah. Yeah, so someone else's mix of those things might be completely different. Their dyslexia might look different. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And autism is a spectrum, so then you've got a wide range of differences there. Yeah.
Correct. So, it's incredibly difficult to put, define one thing. It's just not possible. We're all humans, we're all individuals, and we've all got our own quirks.
Yeah.
Just some of our quirks are, are a little bit stronger in certain areas.
Yeah. Now, there's got to be a flip side to that. There has to be some benefits. And for myself, I've seen that there are some incredible superpowers, if you like, that people with neurodiversity can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And have you seen that? And what have you noticed around, I guess, that positive flip side of neurodiversity? What are some of the benefits of hiring neurodivergent employees, for example?
Yeah, look, so some of the strengths that, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, and you might not see this, but really creative skills, very strong creativity, big picture thinking. I'm literally can join the dots. I think Richard Branson said it as well. I mentioned him again in a book that I read recently. And so I can literally see things, and again, you'll hear the language, I can see things, and I can join dots very, very, very quickly for people.
Yeah.
So I've got big picture thinking, then I can bring it back down to what do we need to do to achieve things. And, hyper focus.
Yes.
I was talking to another colleague, and we were both talking about hyper focus. So what happens for me is that I literally will latch onto something and I will do it until it's done.
Yeah.
It will be like so focused.
Right.
It's so hyper focus is another thing, but the skills of the future. The World Economic Forum keep going on about these skills that are needed in the workforce, and creativity, empathy. Massive empathy. I sometimes overwhelming empathy, and that's another trait that happens as I have overwhelming empathy and can see when people are feeling not right. So all those sort of skills, and so great innovation skills as well.
Yeah, incredible skills. And when you think about the conversation about AI, and this linked, like you said, with the skills for the future, if we're looking at a future where we'll be partnering with AI, then that concept around how do we be the best human in this teamwork scenario, and then it's almost like there's a lot to learn from people who have that real sensitivity to what other people are experiencing and to what other people might be thinking, and that ability to really push through that you've mentioned. That creativity.
Yeah, and again, I just want to re-emphasise that this is my experience. I can't speak for all people who are neurodiverse. I can only speak for me and what happens for me. Yeah. But it's interesting, the more I've opened up at work, the more people have connected with me.
Yes, right.
That are also, either dyslexic or have ADHD or dyspraxia, and it's about making it okay to talk about it, and not being a learning disability, but actually a strength that we can bring to the workforce.
Fantastic. Such a different conversation, so much more positive, isn't it? Recognising the value of individuals in the workplace. And on the other hand, I guess people do experience challenges when they come into a workplace. For example, an open plan setting could potentially be quite overwhelming to someone who's sensitive to noise or overstimulation.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you see the neurodivergent employees or people who you deal with, do you see them facing challenges in the office?
Yeah, again, yes, I work from home as much as I possibly can. Noise is a big problem for me. I can't even stand the radio being on. So you can imagine going into an office that's open plan, sitting next to somebody incredibly noisy. Even with noise cancelling headphones, I find it very, very difficult. So noise is a big thing for me, and I get very irritated by it. So it's quite a challenge for me. So if I go into the office, I actually go in for when I've got like group meetings where I'm actually like in a room with other people where I'm facilitating or I'm doing some coaching rather than just to go and sit and work, because I can't focus when it's noisy.
Yeah, so you'll go there with a specific purpose that you can be hyper focused on.
Yes.
Yes, and then you can that helps you block out the rest of those distractions. And that must be incredibly limiting on your productivity to have that agitation.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
I'm not productive really. I go in to see people and have the kind of connection with people, but I find it incredibly distracting, and it's like I fidget all the time, and so you imagine me fidgeting around, and I talk to myself, so I talk to myself all the time, so you can imagine how annoying that is for other people. So, I'm quite happy to have a little chat to myself, but other people might be going, who is she talking to, So for me, it's I am much more productive when I work from home. And with software like we've got with Zoom and Teams and everything now, I still feel like I can be connected to people as long as they turn their cameras on for me. Now, I do know for colleagues of mine who are uncomfortable with the camera being on. So again, I talked about it being a tree and we're all different branches. Some of my neurodiverse colleagues are not comfortable speaking on camera. So they would prefer to have the camera off.
And how do you?
It's quite interesting, working out what works for you and as an individual. So for me, it's about equity and inclusion.
Yes.
We need to include everyone, and it's about understanding your people and what they need, and also it's about enabling people to feel comfortable enough to discuss what might be some opportunities for them around. Sometimes, like I said, I like that word dichotomy. I'm going to use it a lot now.
Great.
I can be super empathetic in one moment, and the next moment I am literally as blunt as I don't know, whatever I can be. So I can be very, very direct, and so I am that two sides of the coin, and that can come across and be quite, seen as quite rude. So what I've done for me is I've been talking to my colleagues, talking to my leader. I work for myself, but I'm working with an organisation at the moment, supporting them in their culture and leadership space. And I've spoken to my leader and said, you know what, I need to tell you this about me, because sometimes I can come across as a really, really blunt and I'm not aware of it. So please, can you give me feedback? So I think the more that leaders understand about neurodiversity and get an idea of, well, what's it all about? And no, Michelle's not just being rude when she's so direct with you, it's just how her brain is working so quickly that she needs to get the words out and just says it in a way that might not be as, soft as other people might say it. So it's all about understanding your people.
Yeah, fantastic. What about, Michelle, something personal, a personal question for you. Have you had any personal sources of inspiration, perhaps from a leadership point of view, perhaps as then identifying as someone who has neurodiversity, or as someone who's neurodiverse? Have you had any personal sources of inspiration that have helped you in your journey to this point?
Yes, because as I say, I only found out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That I've been going through life blind, as it were, to aware but blind as to what was wrong with me. And I'll say it because I used to struggle, and I used to get very frustrated in the fact that I couldn't remember things. And so for me, it was meeting Vanessa at Remarkable Minds, to be honest with you, 2 years ago. And she literally, she's an amazing coach, and she's a specialist. So she's specially trained with autism and dyslexia, and she's also dyslexic herself, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
And just talking to Vanessa and normalising it, and then starting to explore it myself, and then looking at all these amazing people that before me, like Einstein, for goodness sake, so that it kind of says, you know what, we're not stupid, we're not lazy, we're not thick. We're not, my teachers used to say, if only Michelle, could focus. I'm like,
yeah.
I read my reports. Of course I was trying to focus.
Yeah.
It was just 20 times harder for me to focus. So, just getting that awareness for myself and working with Vanessa has been brilliant, and reading books like This is Dyslexia by Kate Griggs, The
Great.
Gift of Dyslexia by Ronald Davis.
Great.
Who is the Davis, and there's a Davis program that you can do as an individual that will help you. It's, so all of these things have been sources of inspiration for me.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those. That's fantastic. And do you have any final words for the workplace leader who wants to create a workplace that attracts the best talent?
Good question. I think about what you're trying to achieve, and treat everybody as an individual, and don't try and just brush over things. Get to know your people, understand what they need. All of your people, understand what they need, and then work with them. Great.
Thanks, Michelle. That's amazing. Really great to chat with you, and to imagine you there on Waiheke Island, enjoying a nice sunny day. So, yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing these thoughts with us.
Thank you, Lena.
Thanks.